We are live. I'm Dr. Frita. Welcome to Medical Monday. Today we're doing a noontime show. We're having a lunchtime live, and we're still talking about all the hot health topics in the headlines on this Medical Monday. Today, we are going to talk about the Braxtons. Oh yes, the Braxton family values, because they have done a reboot and they've been sharing a lot of the health journeys they've been going through. We have Toni Braxton. Y'all know y'all love Toni Braxton. Well, she's been very open about having lupus, but what I did not know is that she had a near heart attack. So we'll talk about heart attack symptoms, how to prevent it, how to watch out for it, and some of the kind of secret silent symptoms you can have if you might be having a heart attack. And then we'll be talking about Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox. Y'all, it is back. It is live on stage, just like we're live on stage. The World Health Organization, WHO, has announced it as a global health emergency. So we'll talk about what you need to know about monkeypox. I'm sorry, it's now called Mpox. I'll talk about what you need to know. And here's the trick. Spoiler alert, the strain that's out now is more deadly than the strain we had back during the 2022 outbreak. It's true. We'll talk about it. But back to Braxton Health family values. Well, Towanda, you know the sister Towanda, who's had her hair in a nice bald cut with a pretty face and big earrings and looking cute all over the place, being proud of being bald. Well, now she shared that she actually has the diagnosis of alopecia. And so we'll talk about the definition of alopecia, the different forms of alopecia, some causes of alopecia, and what you should do if you think that you have it. And we'll also talk about Tracy, the beloved sister, Tracy Braxton, who died suddenly, because they've shared that. She died of esophageal cancer. And so we'll talk about the warning symptoms, signs, risk factors, and what you need to know about esophageal cancer. Lastly, it's my favorite part. So get your pens and papers ready. We're having a live Q&A. I will answer your questions right here at this lunchtime live. Go ahead, just send the questions in. You can always ask me about the topics plus anything kidney. As we get ready to get started, make sure you like this video and share it with the people you care about. Let them know we're in here. All right, let's get going. Medical Monday. All right. Welcome back. We're live. Go ahead and like this video and come on in. Get your questions ready. Medical Monday, hot health topics in the headlines. I'm your host. I'm Dr. Frita. I'm not alone. Come on up, Shadora. How are you doing?
Doing pretty well. How are you doing, Dr. Frita?
I'm doing great. For those of you who are new to us, especially at this different time at noon Eastern Standard Time for our lunchtime live, this is Shadora. She is my co-host, and she has been my practice manager for over a decade. How are you doing over there? Doing all right?
Doing all right.
Good. Well, we got a lot of health to talk about in the headlines, so let's just jump into it. So, Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox. And I'll tell you, one of the main reasons I wanted to talk about this was because my 13-year-old daughter called me and she said, "Mama, are we going to be in lockdown again?" I'm like, for what? You know, we know that old COVID virus has had a summer surge, but it's not as deadly as it was back during the original lockdown. I'm like, no, we don't need a lockdown. Why? She's like, because I heard that the monkeypox is back. I'm like, what? I heard we're going to have to quarantine. I was like, say who, what? I was like, okay. So if a middle schooler is talking to me about Mpox, I was like, I know other people have questions as well. And yes, Mpox is back on August 14th of this year. The World Health Organization declared it a global health emergency. So let's go ahead and roll the clip and we'll talk about what you need to know.
In our Health Watch this morning, there are growing concerns over an outbreak of Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox. Yesterday, the World Health Organization declared the spread of Mpox in Africa a global health emergency. More than 17,000 confirmed and suspected cases have been reported in Africa so far this year. That is more than the total for all of last year. Health officials are warning the potentially deadly virus could spread internationally. Dr. Celine Gounder is a CBS News medical contributor and editor-at-large for public health at AFF. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning.
So, Celine, this is the second time in 2 years that the WHO has declared Mpox a global health emergency. What's different this time around?
This is a different strain. This strain is more mortal. So in other words, causes more percentage of deaths. It's also more transmissible. It spreads more easily from person to person.
So the last time we were facing something like this, Describe the transmission for that first strain and how it's transmitted this time around.
So that last outbreak that we saw about 2 years ago was primarily being spread among men who have sex with men, bisexual men, transgender people. What we're seeing this time is some 85% of the cases are among kids. And so it's the poor hygiene that you see among little kids playing with each other, skin-to-skin contact. That's how we're seeing this being transmitted now.
Given that kids, and I'm learning this now, bring home every single thing that they pick up at the playground or at school, how do you prevent it from spreading?
Right. Well, a lot of it has to do with, some of the things we talked about early in COVID, which is looking for symptoms, testing, doing the surveillance. A lot of what we've been doing as the United States has been supporting the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is where the majority of these cases, we've been supporting them to do that surveillance, to do that diagnostic testing so you can isolate and prevent further spread, further transmission.
So if parents are worried about the spread, what do the symptoms look like? What should we be looking for?
Well, so first of all, the risk here in the United States, at least right now, is very low. We have yet to see any cases here. So I don't think you should get too alarmed if you see a child who looks like they have the chickenpox. It probably is the chickenpox, but that's what the Mpox rash looks like. The disease is more severe in that you have worse flu-like symptoms. You might also have swollen lymph nodes, but the rash is quite similar to the chickenpox.
And what about vaccines?
We have a vaccine. It has been used in the prior 2022 outbreak. Even then, less than a quarter of those eligible during that outbreak have yet to be vaccinated or have been vaccinated. But we don't have nearly enough vaccine to cover the need in Central Africa. We would need about 10 million doses, and we're not nearly there.
Wow, unbelievable after all these years. Thank you, Dr. Gounder. Appreciate having you.
All right. Yep, the Mpox is back. So as we get started and as I answer questions about the Mpox, Shador, I want to ask the good people in the chat, please put in the chat where you're watching us from. I know we've had people who've watched from Nigeria. We've had people who've watched from all kinds of places, different countries, different cities. Are any of you in Atlanta, in hot Atlanta? So put in the chat where you're watching us from. And also, I want you to put a 1 in the chat if you believe that the Mpox will hit the United States. There's no cases have been reported here as of this current global health emergency, but put a 1 if you believe that there's a good chance that Mpox will hit the United States. All right. So let's talk about the Mpox. This feels like deja vu because back during that 2022 outbreak, I was on different national news shows. And after you finish watching this live, if you go right here and you search under this YouTube channel, Dr. Frita Monkeypox, you'll see where I have a video where I go into detail about monkeypox, what it is. And I'm on several different shows talking about the last outbreak. But I'm talking about it today because the outbreak is a bit different. So monkeypox, currently known as Mpox, it is a virus and it originated in African countries, Central Africa, Western Africa. It was first discovered in the 1950s, although we believe it's been around for thousands of years. The first human case of Mpox was in 1970, and it was discovered in someone in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So with the Mpox, what happens is that the transmission is different than the transmission of COVID, right? With COVID, you can walk out of a room and someone has already breathed and they've had infected respiratory particles and you can catch it. With Mpox, it's a little more difficult to catch. Historically, it was mainly from animals to humans. And so if you got in contact with an infected rodent, like a squirrel or a large rat, or even a primate, an unhuman primate, like some monkeys, they had monkeypox. And if they scratched you or bit you, then you might get monkeypox. Or if you were handling bush meat or some meat of an infected animal, coming to contact with those secretions, you could get Mpox. But as we saw, especially in the 2022 outbreak, now you can get it from human to human. Not as easily from tiny respiratory droplets, but from large respiratory droplets. Like pretty much if somebody sneezes on you, it gets their saliva on you, then you usually have to be pretty much within 6 feet of them or have a prolonged contact for hours. You can also get it from kissing, touching, hugging, all of that kind of stuff, certainly from sexual intercourse. And you can get it from touching contaminated items like contaminated sheets, contaminated clothing, needles. This is how monkeypox is spread. So in that previous outbreak that we had in 2022, we found, for whatever reason, it was mostly sexual contact, and the high-risk populations at that time were considered to be men having sex with men. But we now know things are a little bit different right now in the outbreak. Shador, has anyone in the chat mentioned where they're from, or is anyone scared or they believe that it will come to the United States?
Oh, it was a lot of responses, a lot of ones. Almost
who's the first one in the chat? Do you have what the first one is?
Of course, first one in the chat was Julietta.
Hi, Julietta. Welcome. All right, where y'all watching from, and who thinks it's coming to the U.S.?
So we are watching from Livia from Sacramento. First time.
Welcome. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and notification button. Here on the Dr. Frita channel, we have over 750,000 subscribers. I am a multi-board certified medical doctor. I practice nephrology, which means I'm a kidney doctor and a high blood pressure doctor. I've also been board certified in pediatrics and internal medicine. And most recently, I received my board certification in obesity medicine. What does that mean? We talk a lot about a lot of different topics. So thank you, welcome, and make sure you have your live questions ready for our live Q&A. All right.
That was Jeffrey from DC. Hello, Jeffrey.
Hey, I trained at Georgetown. Hello, DC. All right. Does he think it's coming to the United States? Hi, Jeffrey.
Yes.
You know what?
Shaquille also thinks so. Shaquille's from Hot Dallas.
Hi. From where?
Hot Dallas.
Hey, Dallas. And I know it is hot over there in Texas. But let me tell you, do we have any optimists? All y'all think it's coming to the United States? It's not here yet. Oh, I said yet. Okay.
Why would you say that?
All right. So here's the thing. The first case that we ever had of Mpox in the United States documented was back in 2003. And this one was interesting. The case we got it through prairie dogs. There were some prairie dogs that we now know have been near some infected rodents. And so some humans got it and we also had some cases in 2021, but the big outbreak we had was in 2022, as you know. But right now, 2024, we don't have any in the United States. I don't want any, but you know what? All y'all little pessimists putting a 1. Okay, let me just go ahead and give you the numbers. Right now, since the beginning of this year, there have been over 17,000 cases of Mpox in Africa, in 13 different countries in Africa. In 4 of those countries, they didn't have it during the last outbreak, so it's new to them. And there's been at least 1 case documented in Sweden. So we know we've already hopped off the continent and we're moving on. Here's the other thing about this Mpox virus. There are 2 clades, CLADE, 2 groups of Mpox virus, clade 1 and clade 2. For the outbreak that we had back in 2024, it was with clade 2. This outbreak is clade 1. Clade 1. Why do we care? Because it's more deadly. Okay. It's more deadly. It has a greater mortality. And as was mentioned in the clip, now more children are getting it. It was never actually considered a sexually transmitted infection, STI, because you can just get it from close contact. But yeah, it's more transmissible, we believe. And so no, it's not here in the United States, but it could come, which is why I'm glad they've made it a global health emergency. So here are some of the symptoms of Mpox. Oh my goodness. That rash, that disfiguring rash, you can get it all over your body, your face, your trunk, your palms, your soles. Oh my goodness. And it can start off as just like a little bitty slight redness, like a little red dot, a little macule, and then it can raise and be a bump. Then it can become a blister, and then it can become a straight up pustule. Okay. All over your face, all over your body. You can also get fever, body aches, headaches, fatigue, all of those symptoms. And the rash will usually appear within 1 to 3 days of getting the fever. The tricky part is the incubation period, like from the time you get infected to symptoms, it can last a while, anywhere from like 3 days to 30 days. Some people say from 5 to 21 days, meaning you can be carrying it around and not even know it. And this is also important. You are infectious until that last rash crusts over and scales over. So if someone comes up to you at the club and they've got a rash on their face and they're like, yeah, I had Mpox, but I'm no longer infectious. Yes, they are. If you still see a rash on their face and it's not crusted over, they're infectious, but that's a whole nother story. If you have any questions on Mpox, go ahead and put them in the chat. If you have some right now, immediately, I'll get to 1 or 2 now, and then we'll keep moving on to the next. So Shador, let me know if there are any questions. I will say that the prevention is, of course, to try not to come into contact with someone who has Mpox. You don't always know. But again, if you're someone, especially in an intimate situation, and you want to do your little intimate situation with all kinds of darkness for the mood, you turn those lights on and you look around, okay? You look everywhere. And if you see anything that looks like a rash, a blister, a pustule, get out, okay? So you have to look at people's bodies. This is not the time to be shy, right? Because that's one of the ways. And then also good hand hygiene, clean clothing, and understand that if someone has Mpox and you're like, okay, you stay away from me, but then you go and you change their sheets, the sheets can be contaminated. All right. And then we do have vaccines available, not nearly as many as we need, but the goal is to get the vaccines to the high risk people, which right now, of course, are the people in the infected countries, especially Democratic Republic of Congo. Oh, they've had more than 14,000 cases there. I told you 17,000 cases for all of Africa, but in Democratic Republic of Congo alone, they've had 14,000 cases, and we've had 500 deaths already. Okay. So of course we need to try to get our vaccines there. We do have vaccines, but for people here with that last outbreak, that high risk group I talked about, men having sex with men, they were encouraged. It was recommended that they get vaccines. And I get a little bit eerie when we start talking about groups at high risk, because what I don't want is to form some type of discrimination. And I also don't want to lead to an ignorance where you feel like people who are at a higher risk are the only people that can get a disease. That's how you get into trouble. That's how we got into trouble back with the HIV crisis, when people are like, oh, it's only the men having sex with men. Honey, infections know no names. They can spread. And so everyone needs to be careful. It just so happens that that happened to be factual at the time, that was the demographic at high risk. All right. If we don't have any questions, then we'll move on to the next topic. Make sure you like this video, share it with the other folks who are eating their lunch, and let them know we're having fun over here. Also, again, if you have not subscribed to this YouTube channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you know when we pop up and do lives, and we do videos. Again, we have over 750,000 subscribers. I give evidence-based medicine, and I try to give in a way where we can have a little bit of fun. Okay. I know talking about death and Mpox is not fun, but hey, we got to have the knowledge, right? To be healthy and to be happy. Also, check me out on Instagram. I have different content there than on YouTube. In fact, I just released a short-term content, a reel on a little quick one-liner on the Mpox. So please watch that after you finish watching this live. All right. If we have no questions now, we'll move on to the next. All right. Put a 2 in the chat if you watch or have watched Braxton Family Values. Put a 2 if you've watched Braxton Family Values, and tell me who your favorite personality is on Braxton Family Values. Put a 2 in the chat, because now we're going to talk about their health. They've done a reboot, which I'm pretty excited about, and they share, look, their reality TV is reality TV, okay, to give you all the details. And we know that we first were introduced to Toni Braxton, right? The 7-time Grammy award-winning singer, actor, musician, all of the things. And she brought us on with her family, and who knew they had that much personality as well? Her Mama E, Miss Evelyn. Of course, we got Towanda Braxton, Trina Braxton, the late Tracy Braxton, and Tamar. Who can forget Tamar? They have a brother too. He doesn't do a whole lot of drama, it seems, on the show. He seems to be kind of the chill factor. At any rate, they've all had different health issues. And so we're going to talk about a few of their health journeys here. And so as I talk about them, if you have any questions about these different health journeys, make sure you go ahead and put them in the chat, and we'll definitely get to them in our live Q&A. Also, remember, given that I am a board certified kidney doctor, you can always on any live ask me anything, kidneys, anything, high blood pressure. But let's start off talking about Towanda. I like Towanda Braxton, and we know that she's had a bald head and rocking that do with all kinds of pretty makeup. She looks really good. And I always just thought she was kind of being sporty. And then she shared that she shaved her head in solidarity when her sister, Traci, was going through cancer treatment. And I was like, oh, okay, well, and she looks pretty with the bald head. And I know Tamar has had a bald head as well. But now she revealed that she actually has a diagnosis of alopecia. So let's check that out.
I have alopecia, and I'm not ashamed of it. And this is who I am.
So let me just go back, because it's so much stuff. And like I said, although the production company and the network did an amazing and tremendous job with squeezing everybody's life stories and situations in the episodes, they can't get everything all the time. So one thing that I will say, because I've gotten a lot of messages, I've gotten a lot of comments of, hey, Towanda, we thought you cut your hair in solidarity for Tracy. We didn't know you did it because you had alopecia, but all of those things are true. So initially when
they're not mutually exclusive. Both can exist in the same space.
And that's exactly what that was. Right. So I have to let you know that for a long time, because Sean never really saw my hair. So for a long time, he was like, why don't you cut? You need to cut your hair. You need to cut your hair, because he saw my hair one time.
Wow.
And that's the thing,
when
because
you said that to me,
but
you told me that he'd never seen your hair. One time we were at your house. I didn't believe you.
yeah,
I didn't even know I was possible.
it was one time.
Okay.
One time. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, so this was a big reveal, and you see that she's getting a little pushback, Shador, and they're like, I thought you were just in solidarity with your sister, Tracy. But like she said, two things can be true at the same time, and she has a diagnosis of alopecia. And so right now, has anyone checked out Braxton Family Values, or are they aware? Let's do a shout out of any names of people who've already know about Braxton Family Values, the reality show. Who do we have?
Well, we have DJ.
Hey, DJ.
His favorite is Toni.
Okay, Toni is chill because like Tamar is so much, right? All her personality. And I remember one time in one of the earlier episodes, Tamar and Toni were getting into it. Really, it was Tamar doing all the talking and just coming at Toni. Toni's chill. But then Toni told her, be careful. You're messing with the heavyweight. But she didn't say messing. She said, you're messing with the heavyweight, or you're with the heavyweight. Boom. I was like, okay. I don't care who's the loudest. Toni is the boss. Okay, who else? And tell me your favorite.
Janet. Hello.
Hey, Janet.
It was Tracy.
Tracy. Oh, and we have some. We'll talk about Tracy. And I'll tell you, spoiler alert. Shador and I actually had the chance to meet Tracy, and so we can tell you some firsthand stories on why there's a good reason from our perspective as well on why Tracy would be your favorite. Oh, who else?
Anna. Hello. She
Hi,
says
Anna.
Mama Braxton.
Mama Braxton. Okay, talk about a heavyweight. They could do all that stuff. Did any of y'all watching Y'all Fix My Life when they were on there? When Mama E speaks, it has been spoken for real, for real. She's the boss lady. And she's a beautiful lady. Did you know she used to sing opera? I read that. So that talent and that beauty came from somewhere. And it's from Mama E and their daddy. I'm going to give him some credit too. But Mama E has talent as a singer as well. All right. So let's talk about alopecia. All right. And as we talk about alopecia, when I get into the causes, I want to see what y'all know at lunchtime. What whose brains are ticking? I want you to go ahead and put in the chat some causes of hair loss, what you think some causes of hair loss might be. So when we get to that section and you pull those up, then I'll be able to tell you a little bit into them and if I think you're right or wrong. All right. So alopecia, hair loss, right? It can be hair loss on your head, or it can also be hair loss on the body. And there are different forms of alopecia. You can have alopecia areata, which is when you get these like patchy circular spots of hair loss. And you can also have alopecia for different reasons. And we'll get into some of the causes a little later, but you can have alopecia where you've lost your eyebrows as well, right? Hair all over your body. And you can also have something called traction alopecia. Now, traction alopecia is more common among Black women. If any of you have heard of traction alopecia, then you'll know that's when you lose hair from different hairstyles, like braids that are too tight. Oh my gosh. Cornrows, or if you're trying to make your little babies have perfect hair and you're pulling the barrettes too tight, or you're pulling the rubber bands too tight and your baby's hair is just popping off, and those parts are getting bigger and bigger. That's traction alopecia. Or if you love to have a good ponytail, but you want your ponytail tight, smooth, you don't want a piece of your natural hair to be bubbling or waving, and you pull it too tight, you can boom, boom, boom. That traction, that stress, that tension can cause your hair to pop off. And then when we talk about, people not having edges, okay, she ain't got no edges. Well, that's from the traction alopecia. So that is a form. Anything that's hair loss is a form of alopecia. And then we have the like female pattern baldness. We have the male pattern baldness. With men, we often see the hairlines receding in the front or the bald spot at the crown of the hair. And some men will go ahead and let it go and shave their heads. Other ones want to sit up there and have their hair long all around the bald spots, or they want to have their locks like dreadlocks, even though it's getting really thin all around. Do you? But we have those different things. And women can get the alopecia as well. We have female pattern alopecia. And we'll get into the causes and we'll get into the treatments a little bit as well. But right now, has anyone already popped up with the causes? Any causes, Shador, in our chat?
Yes, we have a few people.
All
Shaquille says stress.
Stress. Okay, that's one of the ones I was going to get to. Something as simple as stress. People need to understand that stress, mental stress, can convert into physical. Stress can cause you to lose your hair, where you're brushing your hair and more strands are in the hairbrush or falling to the sink, or you part your hair for your cute little hairdo, and that part is getting wider and wider and wider because you're losing hair. Okay, who else said something about a cause? That was a good one.
SE, hello. SE says
Hello.
autoimmune disease.
Autoimmune disease can certainly do it. Okay. And a lot of times with the alopecia areata, where I talked about the patches, can be related to autoimmune disease. And specifically, lupus is a big one, right? That can cause the hair loss, where literally your body's antibodies, and we've talked about autoimmune diseases here, instead of your antibodies just fighting viruses, bacteria, and germs, with an autoimmune disease, those antibodies turn on you. Your immune system starts fighting on you. Just like an autobiography is a book about oneself, an autoimmune disease is an immune system that's attacking oneself, and it can attack the hair. And I found this one to be interesting. So yeah, that's a good one that you have on here, because we know that Toni Braxton has been very open about having lupus. To my knowledge, Towanda does not have lupus, but we know that a lot of autoimmune diseases can run in families. And if one person has lupus, another one could have a different autoimmune disease like vitiligo, or they could have something like a rheumatoid arthritis or sarcoidosis or Crohn's disease. These other autoimmune diseases can run in families. So I thought that was interesting, because with Toni Braxton having the lupus, could Towanda have an autoimmune version of alopecia? I don't know, but yeah, that's a very smart one that you said. And who is this? SEP?
Yes.
Yeah, autoimmune. That's a smart one, definitely. So yes, autoimmune disease can cause alopecia. Oh, I like this. Y'all are thinking at the lunchtime live. Anybody else can come with any causes?
Yes, ma'am. RM, hello.
Hi, RM.
Hormonal.
Let me tell you. So that gets us into pregnancy, childbirth. Okay. So a lot of times immediately after a pregnancy or childbirth, women will have thinning hair, and they'll be like, what's happening? So hormone shifts, hormone changes. Certainly if you're perimenopausal or postmenopausal and you have estrogen changes, that's why you'll see a lot of older ladies with wider and wider and wider parts. So that's a good one. Yeah, RM.
Veronica
Hi,
says,
Veronica.
on hair, chemicals, and blood disorders.
Okay. So chemicals for sure. For those of us who've done chemical straighteners, perms, I wore a perm all the way up until my girls sat up here and relaxer or perm shamed me. Because, okay, I'm off topic just for a second. My daughters have never, ever had a chemical relaxer at all. And I'll always tell them, oh, your hair is wonderful the way it is. God made you with natural tight hair. You can do all of your styles. And so all their lives have had great confidence about their hair. They don't even know what kitchens are. We used to get picked on for having kitchens. Put a 3 in the chat if you know what a kitchen is. Anyway, but I was still getting my perms. Okay, I'm like, don't do me. And so then my daughters started asking me with their nosy selves. They're like, Mama, why are you getting a relaxer? Why are you putting chemicals in your hair? And so I'm trying to come up with a reason, which really is because it's my business, mind your own business. But they were like, I thought you said we were beautiful the way we are. I thought you said we don't need chemicals. So whatever. So it's been over a decade since. It's been a decade since I've had a perm in my hair. But yes, you know how if you are a person who's ever had a perm, and if you put a 3 because you know what kitchens are, you're probably someone who has had a perm or know about a perm. Then when you are someone who's trying to straighten your hair, that perm can burn, right? That chemical relaxer. And I remember being a child, it's like, oh, it's starting to burn. But they tell you, no, just wait. The longer it's in your hair, the straighter your hair will be. And so you're conditioned to have this painful chemical on your hair so that it can straighten. And so you can fit a different standard of beauty. That's a whole nother live. But many people will have hair loss or, from a burning scalp that ends up crusting over from the chemical. So yes, that's correct. And what else did you say? What else did you say?
Tension of hair and then blood disorders.
That's right. That tension of hair, that's that traction alopecia. And then, yes, if you have certain blood disorders, this is something that's interesting. Some people who are very anemic, or some people who have issues where they have abnormal blood tests like thyroid disease, be it hyperthyroid or low thyroid, you can get thinning hair. And then there's some other things as well, but that's a good list. All right. Oh, this is good. Anyone else?
Yes. Yacky, snacky. Hello.
Yacky, snacky. It is lunchtime. I know that's right. Okay. What's a cause of hair loss?
PCOS.
PCOS. See, now you're getting into the hormonal, right? polycystic ovarian syndrome. Absolutely, which is characterized by cysts on ovaries, insulin insensitivity or insulin resistance, right? You can get abdominal obesity with it. You can even get hair loss involved when you have PCOS, abnormal menstrual cycles, infertility, and yes, hair loss can be something that is a result. That's real good. All right. Any other causes? And does anybody know what a kitchen is? Anybody put a 3? That's what
Yeah, a lot of threes. Nessa.
Okay. Listen, so isn't it amazing that my kids don't know what a kitchen is? I used to be okay. Who else knows what a kitchen is? And I'll share what it is. So we're gonna keep moving. Shador, you know I got
Olivia.
Olivia, what did Olivia say?
She says, I know about kitchens with laughing emojis.
Oh my gosh. But the girls now don't care about kitchens, do they? And I think that's good. Who else?
Marcia.
Hi, Marcia. She know about kitchens.
And Giovanni.
Hi, Giovanni. Okay, so here's the thing. And make sure y'all go ahead and like this video. Like this video, share it. Hit that little share button and put the link in your group chats. Share it with a friend. Put it on your social media because we're talking evidence-based medicine and I'm going to answer your questions live right here. I am Dr. Frita. I love giving health information, not just because I'm a kidney doctor, high blood pressure doctor, but I can also talk about internal medicine, pediatrics, obesity, and I can talk about kitchens. So listen here. So kitchens, for those of you who don't know, if you have natural hair, specifically natural hair that is of African descent, Black people, our Afro hair, tight, coily hair, especially if you're like a 4C, good morning, your hair is tight. Well, down around the nape of your neck, okay, your hair, it'll get really, really tight into a little curly ball. And so if you have a bunch of little curly balls, they used to call those kitchens and tell us to clean our kitchens. And so what does that mean, clean your kitchen? No, it doesn't mean put soap and water or shampoo. We used to, back in the day when more of us wanted straight hair, we wanted to make sure that our hair was super straight. And so for me, like if I had a ponytail hairstyle at school and I put my hair in a ponytail, but then I had really tight, coarse hair in the back of my neck, I would get the hot iron or the curler and kind of press it to try to make sure it was straight so I didn't have a kitchen. And so I would try to straighten out that little tight, curly part of my hair. And what would happen? Child, I'd burn my neck sometimes or it turned pink or white or whatever because I was trying to clean my kitchen, as they call it. So kitchens are really natural hair, tight, coily hair, if you have that type of hair. And there used to be in the community a shame to it. But when I say my daughters don't know what kitchens are, that means they have tight hair, they have curly hair of different textures. They will have curly hair all down their neck and look at you like what? Because there's a sense of pride. They're comfortable with the skin they're in. They like their hair. And so if I ask them right now what a kitchen was, unless they watch this live, they'll be like, what's a kitchen? And why would you be ashamed of it? Honey, the self-esteem is growing. All right. So that's that on kitchens. Okay. Any other causes? Because then we'll wrap up this discussion and move on to the next. Be sure you like this video as we keep moving. And you know what? I hope that this thing is charging. I'm sorry, y'all have a little technical issue here. So to make sure that my computer is charging so that it doesn't fall off in the middle of our conversation. All right. So we hit on some different causes of alopecia, but so now I'm going to tell you some more. And unless Shador, you see some more causes, I'm going to share the rest of them. Okay. So y'all hit on some of the good ones. The hormonal, we talked about traction alopecia. We talked about, we already kind of talked a little bit about genetics. If you have a family history of baldness or alopecia, that could put you at risk for it. Okay. But also, this is one we're seeing a lot now, rapid weight loss. If you're someone who has lost, 30 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds pretty rapidly, then in some cases, it can also be associated with weight loss. There are different reasons. One reason could be if you've done it through a surgery, like a bariatric surgery, like a gastric bypass or something like that. With that surgery, sometimes you also will get a vitamin deficiency. Okay. You might have movements, bowel movements that are pretty rapid, and you might get rid of more vitamins. And sometimes the vitamin deficiency can lead to a hair loss. And for some people who are, doing the like Ozempic or the Mounjaro, which actually those are medicines I prescribe. And for the right patients, I actually do think they're great medicines, not just for diabetics, but for people who are living with obesity or even people who are living with being overweight. I absolutely prescribe those medicines. So I have nothing against them. But if you're taking one of those GLP-1 agonists and you're not getting the proper nutrition, okay, a nutritional deficiency might develop, then you can also get hair loss. There's also, we talked a little bit about, okay, androgenic alopecia. That's more like the male and female pattern baldness with the receding hairline, losing hair at the crown of the head. Chemotherapy. Chemotherapy treatments can cause you to have hair loss, not just on the head, but also losing your eyebrows and losing your body hair. Let's see what else. Thyroid disease, we talked about that a little bit. Wendy Williams used to talk about hair loss with her thyroid disease. And make sure after you finish watching this live, check out my playlist here on the Dr. Frita channel. I have a whole playlist on Wendy Williams and her different health problems. And I talk about her Graves' disease, her thyroid, and you get hair loss with that as well. Radiation to the head can lead to hair loss. They're different things, but the key is you want to please consult your doctor, specifically your dermatologist, to get treatments, okay, for hair loss. And you want to make sure you have a total body health and nutrition, good nutrition. Diabetes, having diabetes can put you at a risk for thinning hair. Oh, and do know we lose about 50 to 100 strands of hair a day. That's normal, but it's also normal for those to be replaced. So if you're someone who has a certain hairstyle, like a braided hairstyle, and you take out your braids and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going bald, I'm losing all my hair. Just remember those 50 to 100 strands of hair that shed, even with your braids, they're shedding, but the braids are going to keep them from coming out. So it's going to look like you have more hair loss than you do when you take your braids out. That's just a little note for those of y'all who put 3, who knew what kitchens were. Y'all know what I'm talking about. All right, let's move on to the next, Shador. I kind of got a little excited.
So we do have one other comment who what may be a cause to alopecia. Hazel, medication possibly?
Absolutely. Thank you, Hazel. Medication, all kinds of different ones. Certain blood pressure medications, blood pressure medicines can cause hair loss. Certainly certain antidepressants can cause hair loss. Certain medicines that help to treat lupus, like Plaquenil, can cause hair loss. Absolutely. So if your hair is thinning, consult with your doctor and say, hey, does this medication cause hair loss? If so, are there any alternates or what can we do? Because I want to be well, but I don't want to lose my hair. What's up? So that's a very good one. Oh, I'm glad you said that one, Shador.
All right, that's freedom.
All right, good deal. So now let's talk, in keeping with the Braxton family values, let's talk about Tracy Braxton, who we know we lost to esophageal cancer. I'm going to have you to please go ahead and play that. And let me see if I can take care of my technical issue.
Tracy Braxton has died at the age of 50 after a year-long battle with esophageal cancer. Toni Braxton and other family members confirmed the news of Tracy's passing on Instagram by sharing identical tributes to their sister. They posted a black and white photo of their family with a sweet message that read, quote, Tracy passed this morning as the snow was falling. Our angel is now a snowflake. We ask that you respect our privacy as we plan to send her home with love, celebrating her life. We are family forever. Love, the Braxton family. Tracy's son, Kevin Jr., also shared the news on Instagram with a heartwarming message. He wrote, quote, when I heard the news about my mother being sick, first thing she said was, I'm going to fight and beat this. Kevin continued, she fought to the end, and today she's at peace. I love my mother forever, and this hurts so much, but I'm at peace knowing she isn't in pain anymore. I love you, Ma. I'm going to miss you. In a statement, Tracy's husband, Kevin, said Tracy was, quote, privately undergoing a series of treatment for esophageal cancer. Meanwhile, Tracy's publicist told NBC News that Tracy had spent the last year of her life in hospice and that her sister's mom and friends were by her side when she passed. Tracy starred alongside her siblings in their family show, Braxton Family Values. And from seeing her shine throughout 7 seasons of their family show, appearing on Marriage Boot Camp with her husband, to hosting her own radio show, Tracy's legacy will live on through her loved ones.
Yeah, that was such a big shock. I remember we found out about that, Shador, that Tracy died only at the age of 50. And what she died from was esophageal cancer. She died from esophageal cancer. I want you to put a 4 in the chat if you've ever heard of esophageal cancer, because it's actually pretty rare. It's not something that we really talk about commonly or that we do routine screening for. So esophageal cancer, it is a cancer of the esophagus, and your esophagus is that tube that connects your throat to your stomach. Okay. So it's that long, hollow muscular tube that moves in a peristalsis. Okay. It moves in a wave to help to get the food from your mouth down your throat to your stomach. And in the esophagus, you can certainly get cancer, which means you would have an abnormal growth of cells. Okay. Abnormal cells in the esophagus that continue to grow, continue to replicate to the point where they start taking over. And that is what you get when you have esophageal cancer. There are different types. There is an adenocarcinoma, which is actually the most common one here in the United States. And that tends to be in the lower portion of the esophagus, so down near the stomach. And it's actually not very common in Black women. It's most common in white men. But with the adenocarcinoma, again, it's toward the bottom of the stomach. And there are different risk factors for esophageal cancer. One is if you have reflux. Put a 5 in the chat if you or a loved one has reflux, GERD. If you or a loved one has reflux, GERD. And I'm going to get back into how that relates to esophageal cancer. But adenocarcinoma, yes, that's in the lower part. And then there's also a squamous cell carcinoma that you can get of the esophagus. And that's the most common one worldwide. It tends to be in the upper part of the esophagus or the middle. There are some symptoms of esophageal cancer. One could be difficulty swallowing, right? Or dysphagia, having trouble swallowing. You can also get chest pain, and you might think it's a heart chest pain, but it could be a pain due to the cancer. You can have an unintentional weight loss, get really thin. And a lot of us noticed that Tracy Braxton got thin, but hey, a lot of people in Hollywood, celebrities are getting thin, losing weight. So you don't automatically think that someone is sick necessarily. That may not have been why she lost weight initially, but certainly I know they have shown some clips of her now when she wasn't well and she was thin, during that time. But some risk factors, let's talk risk factors. Some of the risk factors for esophageal cancer: alcohol use, especially excessive alcohol use. Also, smoking cigarettes can be a risk factor for esophageal cancer. A lot of times you don't smoke, you don't drink, and you may still get esophageal cancer. But then there's another risk factor as well. Do we have any 4s in the chat for people who heard of esophageal cancer? Do we have any 5s for people who actually have reflux or they have a loved one who has reflux disease, heartburn, GERD?
Yes, so a lot of 4s and 5s with some comments.
Okay, let me see what we have. Who?
So Sandra placed a 4. She says, "Hi Sandra.
Hi, Sandra.
My brother passed away from this condition in June. So sorry for your loss."
I'm sorry. So you know firsthand. So that means that this was the Braxtons have gone through a hit home for you. I'm really sorry about that. All right. Has anyone else heard of it? Yeah, sorry for your loss.
Katie, she says, "My grandma died from esophageal cancer young. When I was 2, she was less than 50 years old."
Oh no, Katie, I'm sorry for your loss. Yeah, I was thinking that maybe y'all would have heard about it because you read about it or you saw it on WebMD, but y'all have personal experiences with it. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. All right. Anyone else who's heard of esophageal cancer, or do we have any 5s for anyone with reflux? And I'll talk about how that relates with GERD, heartburn, reflux, all the same things.
Yes, Marcia put a 5. She says, "My young niece at age 25.
Oh gosh. Okay. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay.
And then a lot more 5s from Sherry.
Hi, Sherry. Okay. So either you or a loved one has it, the heartburn. Okay. Who else has a 5?
Sean put a 4 and a 5.
Oh gosh. All right. Okay. So
Lynn has a.
So you've already heard of esophageal cancer. Hi, Lynn. Okay.
And then Anna has a 5.
Hi, Anna. Hi, Anna. So you know about reflux. Either you or a loved one has had reflux. All right. So let's talk about reflux and how these 5s relate to the 4s. So reflux or gastroesophageal reflux disease. Some people call it heartburn. Some people call it reflux. So that esophagus we have connects to our stomach, right? And then there's a flap, right? That helps to keep the acid from going up into the esophagus, right? So if you have stomach acid that keeps going up into the esophagus or refluxing into the esophagus, that is the heartburn. That's the GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. But here's the problem. The lining of the stomach is built so that it can handle the acid, but the lining of the esophagus is not. And so if you keep having esophageal reflux, GERD, and that acid keeps refluxing into your esophagus, well, what happens is the lining of your esophagus can change in order to accommodate the acid. That sounds nice. That sounds accommodating, but it's really not. And you can get something called Barrett's esophagus, meaning the tissue in your lower esophagus, because it's dealing with so much stomach acid, it starts to kind of look like the lining of the stomach. If this happens to you, it puts you at an increased risk for esophageal cancer, because that Barrett's esophagus, that lining that changes, can continue to change and can become cancerous. So if you're someone with heartburn, please take it very seriously, get treated, find out if you need to, take certain medications, like the proton pump inhibitors, maybe a little omeprazole, a little Prilosec, Nexium, Tums. Consult with your doctor, and also find out if it's severe. Do you actually need a procedure like a Nissen fundoplication where they actually go in and keep you from refluxing? But I just want to say heartburn is so common, GERD, that a lot of people don't understand that it can actually put you at risk for an esophageal cancer. Okay. All right. And just one more thing I wanted to say about Tracy. Shador and I told y'all Shador's been our practice manager for a long time, but we actually had the pleasure of meeting her because she was our special honorary chairperson at one of our National Kidney Foundation events. I'm an Atlanta board member of the National Kidney Foundation, where we fight to prevent kidney disease and to treat it. We advocate for legislation that would help to protect our kidney patients, dialysis patients. And she came out and she spoke very strongly in support of the National Kidney Foundation. And so this is her, and I believe this was in 2016. You see, that's her with the fire red hair. Y'all see Shador? Okay. There goes Shador standing right by her, and y'all see me, my long, tall self, just towering up in the sky. But this was such a good event. We had the ball. She sang, she spoke, and this is what really moved me about her. Oh, my daddy took this picture of us. My parents were there. So we'll leave this picture up. I like this picture, Shador. Oh, my makeup was laid. Oh, okay. Anyway, so I had a patient, a wonderful patient who was born in 1974. She had been in the ICU, sick as all get out. But when we have these different big events, then I have certain patients, just different patients each year who I will have to come to the events so they get a chance, to dress up and to see some of these celebrities who are advocating for them. And I knew she was too sick to come. Her name was Kim. And I told her, I said, you were sitting up here in this ICU acting sick. She was very sick. I said, but if you get better, I said, I will invite you to this ball and I'm going to have Tracy Braxton there and I will make sure you get a chance to meet her. When I tell you my patient got off of her deathbed, got better. So at that point, she would have been, oh gosh, just barely 40 at that point. She started really getting serious about the rehab, everything. And sure enough, by the time, some months later, we had this National Kidney Foundation ball. My patient, Kim, came. She had her walker. But let me tell you, her hair was done and her face was beat up. And, for the people, when I say beat up, we're not talking violence. She had really nice makeup. For anyone who doesn't know that, do it for the culture. Anyway, so we went back into the VIP lounge where Tracy was. And I knew Tracy was busy because she had to talk to all of the different donors and the millionaires and whoever was there helping support our organization. But I was hoping she would at least get a chance to just say hi to my patient, So I had her back there. I had my patient back there. Do you know when I introduced Tracy to my patient, Tracy plopped down on the couch and spent practically the whole time laughing and kikiing with my patient and my patient's mama. She made her feel so special and it was so sincere, so genuine. And I don't know what kind of mingling or networking Tracy was supposed to be doing, but she didn't do it. She just sat there and laughed. And her mother was there, Mama E, and she had that same positive energy. She was dancing. In fact, I danced with Mama E. She was so down to earth. It was just one of the best events. And I'll tell you, my patient talked about it. She was a dialysis patient. And again, I told her she was young and she had been very sick before, but she got a chance to make it. And my patient died soon thereafter. But that was one of the best days of her life. And Tracy, just genuine, just loving. And, she wasn't someone who only talked to people who were on whatever financial level. She made my patient feel so special. But that's my Tracy Braxton story. And Shador, we both got a chance to meet her and to see her and to witness it firsthand. But I just love it, when you have people who are real people, genuine people, no matter how high up they get in their celebrity status, they always, remember what life is all about. And it's for caring about those who are sick, who perhaps have less than, who perhaps are downtrodden. And so I'll always have a lot of love and respect for Tracy Braxton. All right.
Thanks,
all right. Yeah. So in keeping with the Braxtons.
Before we move on, you don't mind, Dr. Frita, we do have a couple of questions regarding the esophageal cancer.
Okay.
This comes from John.
Hi, John.
Does HPV cause esophageal or throat cancer?
That's interesting. And esophageal, the HPV is not a high risk for esophageal cancer specifically, but absolutely throat cancer. HPV puts one at high risk. So with the HPV or human papillomavirus, historically, we only knew it as something that, might cause genital warts or perhaps penile cancer. HPV is the most common cause of cervical cancer in women or people born as women, right? So we know that HPV can cause those things. You have some HPV that can cause cancers. Some might just cause genital warts or even anal warts. Okay, hello, Lunchtime Live, but that's what we're talking about. Just like HPV, it is a sexually transmitted infection. And when I say that, I don't want people to be like, oh my gosh, I got HPV, I'm so mad. Don't be. It's one of the most common, if not the most common STI, sexually transmitted infections. And most people who have it don't know they have it. So if you've gone to your doctor and they say, hey, you've got this wart because of HPV, oh, you have cervical an abnormal pap smear because of HPV, don't go home and curse out your partner, because chances are, one, they may not have given it to you. You might have given it to them, but most people have no symptoms. Okay. So it's not a case of someone having something itchy, scratchy, and blistery and not telling you. I just want to say that part. I want to take the stigma off of HPV. But just like it can be transmitted sexually, right? Genital to genital, it can be transmitted to the anus, depending on what you're up to. Okay. It can happen that way. Even if you're not having anal penetration, you can still get anal cancer just because, the bodily secretions can move around. All right. But certainly in the throat, you can get it. And that is if you're having a certain sexual contact in the throat. I'm just telling you what it is. You can get throat cancer. We've had people like Michael Douglas, the actor Michael Douglas, shared that he had HPV that caused him to have throat cancer. And then the tennis player, Martina Navratilova, okay, she has throat cancer or had throat cancer, and hers was related to HPV. That was reported as well. So absolutely, HPV can cause throat cancer. I'm not trying to be gloom and doom at lunchtime. So let me just end it with a good note on the HPV. Now we actually have prevention. So of course, having absolutely no sexual contact ever, never. That's one way to prevent HPV. Good luck with that. But the other way is to have a vaccine. We now have an HPV vaccine that's actually offered to children. And sometimes that can be a bit controversial because oh, why are you giving my kids an HPV vaccine? Because it's the most commonly sexually transmitted infection. So even starting in elementary school age, your pediatrician will offer your child the HPV vaccine. You get a couple doses, and then all of the cervical cancer, penile cancer, anal cancer, throat cancer, you've suddenly reduced your child's risk to almost zero from getting any type of HPV cancer. Full disclosure, all three of my kids have been vaccinated against HPV. They don't know what's going on. I'm the mama. I'm trying to protect them. It's a safe vaccine. So you can go ahead and look it up and have a consultation with your doctor. But that's a good point. HPV can cause throat cancer. Any other questions?
Yes. RM.
Hi, RM.
Can you get it from smoking?
Can you get it from smoking? Oh, esophageal cancer. Yes, that's one of the risk factors. That is one of the risk factors. And smoking, if y'all look at a list of what smoking can do, it's a high risk factor for a lot of things. It can cause your DNA to mutate, okay, which is what is happening in cancers. So absolutely, it's a carcinogen, cigarette smoke, tobacco smoke. So yes, that's one of the top risk factors for esophageal cancer. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Frita.
All right, good questions. All right, so we move on to our last topic before we get into our Q&A. But we actually got a lot of the Q&A out of the way, Shador, as we went. Be sure you like this video. Y'all don't be shy. Hit that like button, please. Like this video and go ahead and share it with folks. Even if they missed the first part of the live, they can come on back and watch it in the replay. And make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel. And also, for those of you who have other questions, maybe more personal questions that you didn't really want to talk about in front of everybody on this live, don't worry, you're in luck. If you want a one-on-one conversation with me, I do offer a telehealth concierge consultation. So we can I can set up an hour appointment with you where you talk to me in detail about some of the questions that you have, and we can have a conversation. So make sure to click the link in the description to learn about our concierge telehealth service. All right. So let's talk about, as we continue to talk about the Braxton family values and their health journeys, let's talk about Toni Braxton. We've talked about her here before because I love her and we're going to keep talking about her. But I really like the way that she shares her health journey. She's had lupus 4 years, ended up having lupus heart disease, lupus pericarditis. And she's just really open on how it's affected her life. And she's living well, but she's really transparent about some days are bad days. She can't do concerts 7 days a week like she could have in the past. But the most recent thing is one that you may not have heard about. She almost had a heart attack. All right, let's play that.
Here with us. Thank God, first of all. And when we think about you knew something wasn't quite right with you recently, but you did what a lot of us do, which is, I'm sure it's going to be fine. I'm
Yes,
okay.
exactly.
Yeah. So what ultimately happened? Why did you go to the hospital and what happened?
You know, I had some pain in my chest. I've had lupus for over 15 years, but I was having this pain in my chest, and I thought it was because I was so sad because we had lost one of my sisters. I was like, oh, I'm just sad, you know.
Sadness, yeah.
And I went to the doctors, and I kept postponing this appointment he wanted me to do. You need to get this checked up. You need to do it. And I kept saying, oh, I'll do it later. I'm fine. And finally, he called me up and said, go. I got your appointment for tomorrow, go.
Wow.
So I went, and I remember them saying, the doctor, after they did it, the doctor needs to see you. And that's when shortly after that, I was told that I would have had a massive heart attack and I would not have survived. It was my left osteocoronary, the main artery, something called the Widowmaker or something like that. And even sometimes when I talk about it, I'm sorry, guys, I get a little emotional about it.
Of course.
Because I feel so fortunate and so blessed. And I was not going to go to that appointment. You know, you put things off. I'll do it tomorrow. Everything's okay. I'm sure I'm fine. So I'm here today. I'm partnering with Urania to talk about kidney health. I'm talking about lupus nephritis. Something as simple as, you know, we're always uncomfortable tinkling in that cup.
Yeah.
Or getting our blood work done. Something simple. It takes 40 minutes out of your day. We put it off. And I'm here to talk about it because if I had not done that appointment, I would not be here today talking to you guys. So I want to educate people about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important and it's so true. You're a mom, you're a sister, you're a musician, you have all of these roles. And I think sometimes as women, we're like, oh, I don't want people to have to worry about me.
Exactly.
Was there like, when you heard that news, that you were like days away from, you know, another ending?
Yeah.
What went through your mind?
It felt surreal. And initially my doctors didn't tell me.
Oh.
They just said, you know, we just want to check some things, just quickly see what's going on. You know, these tests aren't always accurate. Still trying to keep me calm. And then a couple of days after they did the procedure, they told me.
Wow.
They said it was touch and go for a moment.
What is it like living with a disease that you have to deal with day in and day out? You have good days and bad days. It's chronic. So how do you get through the days, the tough ones?
Family, good friends help. My kids, being a mom, I love being a mom. Having lupus I have SLE, so it can attack any organ in my body. Now it's starting to affect my kidneys. And that's when it can get really scary because it's 4 times more likely for African Americans and Asian women to develop this lupus, or women who are Hispanic and Native American 2 times. You know, so if you have lupus, you're at a risk already of it going into something like lupus nephritis, which is kidney damage, kidney failure. So I'm here today to talk about kidney health, but I'm like, okay, it loves my heart today. Tomorrow it could be my kidney. So it's some days I do get sad. I'm not going to lie. Some days I'm sad, but there are good and bad days. And I always try to think of the glass as being half full.
Oh, I love how she shares. And watching her, Shador, it doesn't just remind you, you don't always look like what you're going through because she always shows up, right? Just looking so pristine, so just physically beautiful, mentally calm, and she's going through all of those things. So today we'll talk about what she talked about with the Widowmaker. She almost had a heart attack. She could have died. So we'll talk about that. And then we're not going to have time to get into lupus nephritis. But again, you know, I'm a board certified kidney doctor, so I take care of patients with lupus nephritis. And so on a future live, and let me know if you want to talk about lupus nephritis on a future live, we'll talk about that. But as I talk about her and what she went through, I want you to put in the chat symptoms of a heart attack. And remember, the symptoms are not always typical. And she didn't have a heart attack. It sounds like she didn't have any symptoms, but give me some symptoms of a heart attack in the chat and we'll talk about those. But what she described is that she had what sounds like a blockage in one of her major heart arteries. So the left anterior descending, LAD, is a heart artery that supplies a big part of your heart, okay? And if you get blockage in that heart can't beat well, you'll get a heart attack, also called a myocardial infarction, myocardial infarction, or MI, and you can die. They call it the Widowmaker for a reason. People who have blockage like she had All it takes is for one little plaque to get caught in it to close it off all the way. And your chances of death are extremely high mortality. And so what she's telling you is the real deal. She had blockage there. It was touch and go, and she could have gone. And you heard how she said she kept putting it off. And I guarantee you, with her sons, with her loved ones, I bet she's forever sending them to the doctor and like, oh, take care of yourself, take care of yourself. But a lot of times women don't prioritize themselves. We don't prioritize ourselves. We put things off because we feel like we're the matriarchs. We're what's keeping the families and the households going. And we are. Usually. But here's the thing, if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of others. So this is just a little reminder to all of you who are those super women, who are those caretakers. Don't ignore your bodies. Don't ignore your bodies. And she mentioned the lupus. Having lupus, yes, that does put her at a risk. And so not only a risk for heart disease, but like she mentioned, lupus nephritis, lupus kidney disease, which we'll talk more about. Make sure that when you finish watching this live, just search right here. I have a whole playlist on kidney disease. I have so many videos. If you want to know what lupus is and lupus nephritis, check out the video here on my Dr. Frita YouTube channel. So let's talk about heart attacks. So of course, a heart attack is when your heart arteries or your coronary arteries have a blockage, okay? And it can be from a plaque, like an atherosclerotic plaque, okay? And cholesterol can certainly put you at a high risk. And then perhaps if you have some platelets, those little blood cells, platelets, and they get caught up in that plaque and you get a blockage, well, then you're blocking the blood flow to your heart muscle, and that causes that the muscle to die. Myocardial infarction, heart muscle death, and you have a heart attack, okay, which of course can be fatal. So some risk factors include smoking. Y'all asked about smoking for esophageal cancer. Being a smoker can put you at risk for a heart attack. Certainly if you're a person who's living with obesity, that puts you at a higher risk. Having diabetes, having high cholesterol. Make sure you check out my YouTube video here on this Dr. Frita channel, how to unclog your arteries naturally. All those things can put you at risk. But let's just briefly go over some of the symptoms of a heart attack and make sure you pay attention to your body, because some symptoms are not classic. Anyone put any symptoms in the chat, Shador?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Okay.
We have Panther. Hello.
Hello.
Left arm pain, feels like an elephant sitting on your chest.
Very good. That's one of those classic symptoms, feeling a crushing chest pain, like an elephant sitting on your chest. And that pain can radiate to your left arm, and it can also radiate to your left jaw, your left neck. Okay, so that's a good one, Panther. That's one of those classic heart attack symptoms. Who else puts a symptom up there?
Sandra, hello.
Hi, Sandra.
Excessive sweating.
Very good. Excessive sweating, also called diaphoresis. You know good and well you're sitting around, it's hot, it's August, it's 95 degrees outside, you break out into a cold sweat. That can be a symptom. Okay, so we got the chest pain, left arm pain, and then the diaphoresis, or the breaking out into a sweat. That's good. Anyone else? These are good. Y'all are smart med heads. I love it.
This is from Ish.
Hey, Ish.
Right. Women may have nausea or vomiting symptoms.
That is one of the atypical symptoms I'm talking about. You got it. You got it. Having nausea, vomiting, or epigastric pain or epigastric discomfort. When I say epigastric, I mean that area that's right at the top of your abdomen, the top center, and kind of right below your rib cage. Okay. If you're a person with heartburn, you may have experienced some kind of pain there. So nausea, vomiting, epigastric pain. It's not chest pain, it's not left arm pain, but something like nausea, vomiting can be a symptom. So you remember, these things don't happen in a vacuum. If you have that cold sweating and you also notice that you're getting short of breath with distance, or if you have a left arm pain and you're also having a nausea and vomiting, think outside the box and call 911 if you think you're having a heart attack. That was a good one. That was an atypical symptom. And yes, oftentimes women get it and ignore it. Diabetics can also get oftentimes atypical symptoms of a heart attack. That was good-ish.
So Divine. Hello.
Hi, So Divine.
Slurring.
Slurring. Okay. So now when you talk about slurring, so we think typically of slurring when we're talking about a stroke, right? Slurred speech. But quite honestly, if you're someone who's having a heart attack, and so now your heart is not pumping well, the blood flow is low, and maybe you have sweating, maybe you have chest pain, but if you're just kind of out of it and having slurred speech, that could potentially be a symptom of a heart attack. It's probably not going to be a standalone symptom, but you start putting different pieces of the puzzle together. That's good. But yeah, slurred speech is what we classically talk about with strokes, right? And we talked about, just jumping to strokes real quick, strokes. We talked about blurry vision, balance being off, having facial drooping, having arm weakness, like arm or leg weakness, and having a slurring of the speech with strokes. But certainly if you're having a heart attack, honey, everything can go left, including your slurred speech. Good. Thank you.
All right, then last one from Ronnie. Hello.
Hi, Ronnie.
Numbness of arm radiating to hand and fingers.
Very good. Very good. So getting back to that classic of the left arm, left shoulder, left jaw, and it can be a numbness, not just a pain. And it can also happen in the right arm as well. Okay. And because we have different atypicals. So I think that y'all hit on the main ones. Shortness of breath can definitely be one as well. Having palpitations of the heart can be one. You hit on the nausea and vomiting. That's good. And then pain with walking or angina, like chest pain with walking, you can get angina. And that can be even a warning sign before you have a heart attack. If your chest hurts every time you go up a flight of steps, then that could be a warning sign. But thankfully, Toni Braxton did listen to her doctors. She had a procedure and she no longer had a heart attack. I don't know what procedure she had specifically, but a cardiac catheterization is one that many people will have, where your doctor will shoot a dye either through your radial artery, like your artery that's right here in the wrist, or through the artery in your groin. They'll shoot dye into your body and look and see where it lights up in your heart arteries. And if that dye gets blocked because you have some type of a narrowing, then they know you have heart disease. And then they can go in and they can either do like a non-invasive correction, like putting a stent into the heart artery, which is kind of like a straw that will open up that flow. They're different things. But I'm glad that Toni Braxton shared, and I'm so happy that she got that taken care of and that she's really promoting health. We'll talk about lupus nephritis at a later date. But this takes us on to the end of this YouTube Live, and it's been very, very enjoyable. I've loved the interaction that we've had, and we always want to stay healthy. And for more tips on staying healthy, make sure I'm going to give you a freebie. Hey, free 99, and on some healthy habits. It's a PDF. You can click the link in the description for the download, where I give you 10 healthy habits for a better you and a better life. And these are some of the habits I use as I try to stay healthy in my day-to-day life. But make sure that before you head out this door, that you like this video, share this video, please. Let YouTube know that we're here and that we're giving evidence-based information, And stay tuned.
Before you go all the way out, we have a super chat.
Oh.
And there's one question I thought was rather important. I would like.
We'll hang out.
All right. So our super chat comes from My Time to Shine.
Hello, My Time to Shine. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for that.
Thank you for sharing such valuable medical info, Dr. Frita. I enjoyed the Braxton show and learned a lot today.
Oh, that's good. See, that's my goal. I want to share the health information. I appreciate you for the super chat. I'm happy that you learned. And since you learned, please do this for me. Share this video so we can share the knowledge and so that we can take care of ourselves. And yes, we have fun watching reality. We laugh, we kiki, we giggle. But we can also get something out of it, right? To improve our lives as well. So thank you for that. I appreciate you. Oh, that's nice.
Yes, ma'am. And there's just one question. I know we didn't do our usual Q&A, but just one question I thought was rather important.
Okay.
This is from TC.
Hi, TC.
Says, hi, Dr. Frita. My cousin recently passed from amyloidosis, and our family is devastated over it because she was only 58. What should our family know to make our doctors aware so that we can start testing early?
That's an important question. So amyloidosis means that your family, I'm very sorry about your family member. But amyloidosis occurs when there's this abnormal protein-like deposit that can affect different organs. You can get a cardiac amyloidosis where it affects the heart, okay? And you can get this thickness in the heart and the heart doesn't pump properly. You can get amyloidosis that affects the kidneys. It can even affect the tongue. It can affect all kinds of parts of the body. It can lead to kidney failure. And we do have some treatments available, but it is sometimes a little difficult to diagnose if you're not looking for it. There are different forms of it, and one form can be hereditary. So here is what I would recommend. I would recommend that you consult with your physician and you let them know about your family member with the amyloidosis. And if your family members, close relatives, if they're able to disclose or if they're in a place in their grief where they're willing to expose the specific type of amyloidosis, that can help you to know if it's one that is likely to have been for other family members to have. And here's something that's really important. We have very good genetic testing for a lot of things now. And I would recommend that your family members ask to be tested to see if you have a genetic predisposition to the amyloidosis. That's where I would start. And if one of you has it, then these genetic testing companies typically have They typically have genetic counselors that can help you to proceed. So what I would recommend is, depending on where the close family members are with grief, I would ask, hey, specifically what type of amyloidosis was it? That's number one. And consult with your physician and let them know about it and say, could I have some genetic testing or do I have any risk factors for amyloidosis? So yeah, please be proactive so that your family, if there's something that they can prevent or treat early on, your family doesn't have to be hit with any other tragedy. So I'm sorry about that.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Frita. Thank you for your question, TC.
Yeah, it was a good one. All right. Any other questions we're going to hit real quickly? We'll save it for next week. So this is what you do. I thank y'all for being here. And this is, again, is a different time. We normally don't have our Medical Mondays at lunchtime, but we might switch it up sometimes. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you'll be among the first to know when we're putting out new content, and you'll be among the first to know of when I'm doing the YouTube lives. It'll pop up. So I appreciate all of you for watching and for being interactive. We will be back on next Monday as well. And I can tell you now, it'll be noon on next Monday as well. So again, make sure that you like and that you share this, that you subscribe to the channel, and that you hit that description box where we have all of our freebies for you and everything. So I will see you all next time. I appreciate you for watching, and we're out of here. All right. Y'all take care.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Frita.